let's do it.
Welcome to Life Unleashed. I'm your host, Sierra Cooper, and today we have a very interesting individual on our show. Welcome, Dennis Thompson. How are you?
I'm great, thanks.
You and I met when you were down here visiting your friend Gary Flanar, my friend too, down here in Southwest Florida. We were out in the boat, we were playing around, we were having fun, and you just really kind of took to me, and we got in this whole conversation about your background, which was martial arts. This man is very talented and very well skilled, and I know it's been a huge part of your life, and you stumbled upon this how. You're originally from Indiana, grew up in Indiana, still in Indiana, but tell us a little bit about your background and how martial arts kind of found you.
Oh, well, I don't know if any of your viewers are old enough to remember Kung Fu, the TV show, but I was 14 years old and that was my passion. I just wanted to be a karate guy. And, you know, a karate school opened up across the street from my house in a little town of 1,000 people. And I started kicking and punching. And by the time I was 17, I won my first world championship. So, and then I kept going and I taught, I don't know, thousands of people. I had a lot of karate schools, and anyway, so it was not always about kicking and punching. It was in the early days, but it was more about teaching people how to, courtesy, integrity, perseverance, self-control, and respect, and that type of thing.
So for you though, I mean that's an amazing accomplishment at 17 years old. And then you had mentioned you had many karate schools. What inspired you to go in that direction? Because I know a lot of people as they get older, they live in the Midwest, their parents are influencers and they say, you might want to think about doing this as a profession. Was it just your heart led you in that direction? Did you have some inspiration behind it?
I didn't have a lot of backing except that that's the only thing I knew how to do, and I did it pretty well. That sounds arrogant, but I just had an exceptional ability to see martial arts in maybe a little bit different view than everybody else had, and it was what was comfortable. My dad was a roofer. He was a hard guy. I don't mean hard on me. He was a hard-working man that expected everything you to be your best, and he always expected me to be my best. So anyway, I did that.
And structure.
What's that?
Discipline and structure
Right.
was a part of your life. So martial arts is obviously discipline and structure. But I think for a lot of people watching, a lot of times people challenge themselves by, I've got a couple of clients that finally signed up with a local dojo and challenge themselves way outside of their comfort zone. What's the other benefits of martial arts that you've seen with your students throughout the years? Do you have some memories of students and how it kind of changed their lives or took them from bad situations to a better focused situation?
Well, I'm glad you asked the question because it's kind of like this. When you're charging more than the fitness center charges, and you're charging whatever at the time you pick up from the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, or the 2000s, you're charging a lot of money to teach these people, and you're not getting the average guy coming in because it's expensive to take a martial arts course. So you're getting people that and you're not getting the quarterbacks, so they already have a spot in their life. And you're not getting the center that plays on the basketball team. You're getting the guys that sit on the bench. And it costs a lot of money to come into the program. And so what you're doing is you're gifting them with the ability. So a lot of my students that had no direction in their life, maybe they went to college, maybe they did not. But what happens is you give them the confidence, and it's not about the kicking and punching. It's about how to teach them how to be a stronger person and go on and give them the confidence to know people have belief in them. And that's really what I've done most of my life. I have thousands of people who have done fantastic things all across the United States. And I am so proud of the fact that I could give them the confidence, because maybe without coming into the school, um, they would have not pursued their dreams. But, it wasn't about really the kick and the punch. It was more about giving them the confidence to do whatever they needed to do. So I don't know if I answered that
Well,
right.
I think a lot of people, right, growing up, especially in your era, like you used to watch Bruce Lee, Walker Texas Ranger, Chuck Norris, all these people, we got into this whole conversation, right? And there's a big difference between what Hollywood puts on as, this is what it's all about, to someone like you said yourself. I mean, how many championships did you win? I mean, it's pretty amazing. It's not just karate either. I mean, you've learned different dissections of martial arts. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I grew up in Taekwondo actually, which is the Korean martial arts, and there's three basic ones. You got the Japanese martial arts, what you'd call karate, and kung fu would be the typical one you would refer to Chinese, and then the Korean one is Taekwondo. But over the years, I've met a lot of people in different other martial arts, so I have several different black belts. My highest rank is in Taekwondo because that was my main vision. But I created my own it's called the United Taekwondo Federation. I created that and I incorporated all the other martial arts. And where traditionally Taekwondo was just taught by Korean people and they were kind of segregated like that. And I integrated a lot of that stuff. And I transversed. I mean, I remember when I was 15 years old, 16 years old, and we'd go to Detroit or Indianapolis or someplace like that. And
Oh yeah, I remember that.
and we would I was out of my element. I mean, I knew how to throw a roundhouse kick to your head really fast, but the other guy was sweeping my leg, and we didn't do that in Taekwondo. So you learn, I realized the value of incorporating things together and making everybody coherent like that. But um,
Well, and people idolize certain people. Who would you say, like today, in today's world and right now, like this year, is really out there doing some really good stuff? Do you still follow it? I'm sure you still do.
I know some people, and the names I would give you are not on. Yeah, so yeah, the people everybody recognize that are out there now doing their great things. And you mentioned Chuck Norris and Bruce Lee, and they were just movie stars. They weren't great martial artists. I know the greatest martial artists that ever lived. I really want to say their names because they don't live on that thing, but the what you see on the movies is not the best guy in the world. And
It's not. It's not. It is a total misconception, right?
right, I
So,
can tell
so
you the toughest guy I ever met in my life. His name was Del Craig. He's from Nebraska. Nobody'd ever hear his name. He was never on a movie. I think he did play for the New Orleans Saints for a little while, but he was the toughest dude I ever met. The smartest guy I ever met was probably a guy named Mike Izzo. And you would never see them on the movies because they just didn't follow that role. But they would, what you see on TV is not, Chuck Norris. And I met Chuck Norris and um, that they were movie actors. I just don't really have. It's not that I don't respect. They did their thing. They made their money. They did their thing. But I'm just going to tell you that the best martial artists I've ever met are not them.
yeah, and
I,
and and I
is that
think for
negative?
a lot of no, it's not. It's the truth, right?
Right.
So, and I think, I wanted to ask you because there's so many people that they play football, they play sports, they play soccer, and it's like you said, you're not always going to have the quarterback coming into your dojo, coming into that whole arena. Um, did you see throughout the years of your teaching that the kids that actually came to you or that found you either had behavioral issues, anger issues, bad childhoods, and they learned how to change their entire perspective through martial arts? Was that something that martial arts also provided for them?
Well, on a low level, but it was like I think it goes back to the fact that they just weren't accepted in the social sports in school. So if you're going to
Hmm.
sit on the bench and watch the other guys, and you're not going to be the center of the basketball team or the forward or whatever the star player is, and you sit on the bench. That's a pretty boring thing. So my job was to take those people that didn't fit in the social parameters and make them as strong as the guys that had the natural talent. And so, yeah, I've turned a lot of kids into some fantastic people. Not me, the process. So it wasn't me that did
Oh,
it.
you are fantastic. You are fantastic. You exude a lot of positive energy. And for you, I mean, because you did so much throughout the years, do you have like a favorite karate school that you actually had? Did you ever travel anywhere that really stands out to you throughout the years?
Well, I've owned karate schools in a lot of different states, and when I sold all my schools, I had 10 karate schools. Like I said, I created the United Taekwondo Federation with the idea of building people in a certain way that maybe traditionally the Koreans didn't do.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if I had a favorite one. Of course, my favorite one would always been the one I was teaching at, and I was married
Mm-hmm.
for 16 years to a wonderful lady. Her name is Shula, and she
Mm-hmm.
did more with the little kids. We taught kids from the age of 4 years old up to, I think my oldest black belt that I ever promoted to a black belt was 65 years old. And so we taught
Wow.
them all in between, and to give every person, that's a wide range of things and of people of ages, and to do that successfully takes a lot of effort, and I have to give a lot of that to my ex-wife. She ran the program, whatever was, the behind the scene picture of how to make this all happen. She did a wonderful job with that.
Well,
I
I was
was
gonna
just go ahead.
Well, no, I was going to say you had mentioned a 65-year-old black belt. So, I mean, martial arts obviously you it definitely get you in very, very good shape. But like if someone's looking to actually learn something for multiple reasons and they want to get into it and they're out of shape, they might feel a little standoffish to going into that. But why would you think somebody should actually do that?
The hardest step you ever take in martial arts is your first step. That's walking into a dojo. But you do need a little bit of knowledge about that. You do need to know that when you go in, what's going to be expected of you. If you're, I'm just going to throw back to 65. I mean, the guy was an exceptional man. And uh, I mean, he knew me his whole life, so he came to me. But if you're going to be an older
Hmm.
guy, even if you're 35 or 40 years old, and you walk in there
Hmm.
and there's a 22-year-old guy
Hmm.
expecting you to do stuff that you can't do, he's the wrong teacher for you. You need to find somebody that can deal with your life. Because see, here's the misconception about it is black belt is a thing. Black belt is not a thing, it's a perception. And so 6-year-old black belt, my daughter got her black belt when she was 6 years old. But I also gave a black belt to a 65-year-old guy. Those two things are not the same. So it's perspective
Hmm.
and how you look at that. And so a 6-year-old that does certain things deserves a black belt. It's a level of accomplishment. And that's what you have to be able to, there has to be a floating scale on that. And it's just not a line. So whatever, I always call myself a pink belt because I don't care about rank anymore. But I've been doing it so long. I'm just a pink belt. But everybody brags about their in Taekwondo there's 9 belts. It goes from 9 to 1 in the colored belts, and then 1 to 9 in the black belts. And I don't care what I am, but I do know that a first degree black belt and a sixth degree black belt are two different people. And so just saying you're a
Hmm.
black belt is not the answer. You have to, as an instructor, tell people that their value, that slice of the pie, is where they live. And you got to show them that. And that's what breeds confidence and everything that goes along with it. So maybe I
Did you
got
ever
too
did
tech.
no, not at all, because there's a lot of people, like you said, it's a total misconception about a black belt. They have no idea that there are different degrees of black belts. And so let me ask you, when you're a seventh degree black
Yeah,
belt,
that
correct?
that's that's when I quit counting.
Okay, okay. What did you ever have a match that really scared you? I mean, that you were up against somebody and you thought, okay, this is not going well. Because I know you invented what's it called? The bear hug or the bear claw or the bear something. You showed me the
No,
video on this.
did I send you the video?
You pulled it up for me when you were down here in Florida, and so
Well, yeah, let me tell you this. This is reality. So I'm not pulling any punches here. So when you have a karate school and I similar to having a podcast, you want people to watch. So, if you can put me on the front page of the newspaper, I'm going to punch a bear trap. And at the time I do it, it's
there you
sitting
go.
right here behind the camera. The same bear trap. It's a 28-pound Oneida number 15 bear trap. It's sitting right there. I punched it 17 times. I'm the only guy in the world that ever did that. But you know why I did that? But it didn't make me any better at martial arts because I could always throw a good round kick, and I knew the other parts of it. But that put me on the front page of the newspaper. So punching a bear trap just gave me a little bit of leverage for a little bit of marketing. It was real easy for a TV show or a newspaper to say, yeah, this guy's the best martial artist. No, I just knew how to punch a bear trap. And, I knew other stuff as well, but that was marketing stuff. So anyway, I don't really think that is part of who I am as a martial artist or what I gave back to the community. I gave a lot, and that just kept me on the front page so I could put more students in my school and honestly make a little bit more money, but also share what I knew, as my being with everybody else. So I don't know. Is that what you asked me?
Yeah, yeah, that, and were you ever in a match with somebody that, because it's one thing to be disciplined in doing martial arts for the right reasons, right? And then, of course, there's other people out there that get involved that have, like you said, it's all perception, that, they do some shady things. So, did you ever have an instance like that?
I've competed in, I guess if I had to round it off, I don't know, 500 tournaments in my life. I was scared every
Hmm.
time.
Hmm.
Not of the guy across there that hit me hard. I didn't care if you hit me hard. I can hit back. I had such a high standard that my dad set for me to accomplish something, and it was about. I don't want to say this wrong. It wasn't about losing. I don't really care if I lost, but I had such a high
Hmm.
expectation of my life when I was a young man to win everything I ever did. And I won most
Hmm.
of them. I didn't have a lot of losses, but I never wanted to show up in front of my dad and say, "Hey, I didn't quite get it done." But he wasn't a bad man. He just says. I remember one time he said, "I I." When I was a kid and I'd grow up and I'd walk in at 3 o'clock in the morning and set my trophy on the table, he never said anything. And then the one time I lost, I probably was 16 years old and I showed up fighting in Detroit, and I said I didn't have a trophy. I didn't win. And he kicked my bedroom door and he goes, "What happened? Did you lose?" I go, "Yeah." I go, "Why didn't you ever tell me I did a good job when I won?" And he goes, "Well, I thought it was my job to remind you you weren't doing good enough." And he was a hard guy, but a loving man. And that,
Hmm.
some kids probably wouldn't have dealt with that like I did. I just went and won the next
Hmm.
time. So I never walked in without a trophy.
That's amazing. Now, in your career, you had mentioned you gave back a lot. So, did you do a lot of fundraisers, a lot of community development?
Oh,
What exactly did you
oh
do?
yeah. I used to hunt, and so I had a dog, and she went with me everywhere. She was my side companion, and I hunted ducks and goose, and so Ruger was the thing, and she was our school mascot. So we gave to the
Hmm.
Humane Society. I raised money for Jerry Lewis. I raised money for I can't remember what the name of it is. The hospital down in Indianapolis. We did kickathons and breakathons. We'd have the whole school come together and break 1,000 boards, and everybody would go get donations, certain amount of money per boards, and we'd give $20,000 to those places, because we just raised the money for that. So we were a community oriented pretty good. I
Yeah,
mean,
and that's the way to be. I know there's a lot of people too that ask the question, well, why Taekwondo? Or why karate? There's so many different disciplines. So how does one actually find the discipline that works for them? Is it just you walk into a dojo? It almost kind of sounds like a bad joke. You kind of walk into a dojo and you find out, hey, this is for me, this isn't for me. What did you used to tell your students when they first came in, if they were kind of unsure of what to actually gravitate to?
well, that's a deep question. And just to correct you, they're not all dojos. So in Korean, it's
Wow,
dojang. So
dojang.
I'm being a little particular. Dojang, that's Korean, but dojo, you're correct with the Japanese stuff. But um, like I think I touched on it before. Was go in, and if you're comfortable with the dude, and if you're 60 and there's a 22-year-old who want you to do a flying sidekick over five people, you're not going to do that at 60 years old. So find a person that you can connect with that understands your ability and where you're going to go. Again, a 6-year-old black belt and a 60-year-old black belt they're not the same thing, but they all deserve their rank. So you got to find a person that understands that. I don't think it's a choice between Korean martial arts or Japanese or Chinese martial arts or whatever other martial arts are out there nowadays, the MMA and all that stuff. I don't think it's a choice between that. Find something, do your research, ask them, and know that you're going to fit into that program because that program is already designed. The guy that's teaching this always is going to teach that. And if that's not your gig, just go in there, get a couple. Every martial arts school I've ever seen in my life will give you a couple free classes. And if you get into it and you don't feel comfortable, I'd just go look at another.
I had mentioned to you your background, your wall is very interesting. So you mentioned those are like artifacts from what Indian culture or whatnot. You're very seems like you've always been very spiritually centered, not just around karate, but just very spiritually centered. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if spiritual is the right thing, but it's like the connection between human beings are very important. And so the things that
Yep.
mean something to me, I would rather somebody give me an artifact um,
Hmm.
out of their pocket that you found in a cornfield yesterday than them give me $10,000 because it's just a different connection. I don't know that we're in northern Indiana, so I know that you're in Florida and people look at things a little bit differently here. But I can walk into my friend's house and give him something that was an antique, and he'll value that way more than if I walked in and handed him $1,000. But we're just kind of built like that. I
Absolutely.
don't know. Oh,
Oh,
I've sat
I'm
in
from
two.
Ohio. I'm from Northwest Ohio. So that, yes, that
You
is how
feel it,
we
right?
are.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and so now what are you doing? Are you just retired? Do you participate in what you always enjoyed occasionally? Do you still do martial arts occasionally? What are you
No,
doing now?
I'm retired now, and I don't really do anything in martial arts, but I'm getting ready to kind of the next step in my retirement, because I just retired recently, but I'm getting ready to travel the United States, and I've competed and met a lot of
Hmm.
people in almost every state. I
Hmm.
had schools in a lot of different states, and so what I have neglected while I was trying to make money for my family, I have 5 daughters and a son, and so
Wow.
yeah, that I dealt with a lot with 5 daughters, but anyway, that was a joke.
Yes, yes,
But anyway,
yes, I do.
I've committed my life to them, but now it's the point where they're adults and they all, I got 15 grandkids. So it's time for me to go travel a little
Wow.
bit. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to reconnect with all the people I competed with. And some people didn't really like me. I mean, if you get beat by a guy, you don't really have friends with him. But in martial arts, there's always that respect thing. So I'm going to travel the United States and see all the people that used to be important in my life, and I'm just going to run around, and I'm going to come back down there and see Gary and you and
And me, you better
yeah,
see
hell
me.
yeah, we're going to
Yeah,
go out on a boat and have a good time, and
absolutely.
but I'm going to travel from Maine to Spain, we used to say, and see all the people, and um, I got students everywhere in the United States, so it's just going to be a fun thing to start to travel and reconnect with them,
Now,
and I haven't.
besides the United States, have you been overseas? Have you
I have
been, I
not.
mean, been to your, okay. So
I've
it's
not
not
been
on your
overseas. I had the
radar.
opportunity to go overseas with the Koreans, but um,
Okay.
yeah, I have some opinions about that. I'm not going to really say that, but
You
but
can. My show's an open forum. So
okay,
I just recently interviewed a woman. She came in the studio. She goes, "Do you cuss on your show?" I said, "Yeah, you're allowed." She goes, "Okay. Oh, thank God." And she was
okay, all
talking
right.
about the book she wrote. Yeah, I've interviewed a little bit of everybody. So it's an open forum. You can say what you want. So it's
Well,
freedom
and
of
I
speech.
just, it's not a challenge. It kind of sounds like a challenge, but you know, I've competed a lot in my life. I've been in every city you can think of, the biggest cities in the United States, and I fought the
Hmm.
toughest people that ever were, and I came out on top most of the time. But
Hmm.
the Koreans are a little bit, they taught me, and I really respect what I learned, the art of Taekwondo, what that's their national sport. Like our national sport is baseball. They're
Right.
in Seoul, South Korea, that's their national sport is Taekwondo. So they claim that real hard. But I never lost to a Korean ever. Like, you know, it's
That's
I just
amazing.
never have, and it's I'm not going to give them all that credit. It's like because I know here's what I know. So I'm going to put a term to it that most people won't. Taekwondo, oh, that's the Korean martial art. No, the Taekwondo I know is American Taekwondo. And that's why I created UTF.
Interesting.
And so I took what I learned from the Koreans. Thank God I learned that. And I learned a lot from them. But then I elevated it to what is good for American people. So, that's what I do. No, no Korean ever beat me. I
Well,
not that I didn't get beat, but no Korean ever beat me.
well, we talked when you were down here in Florida. I mean, you definitely, because you were so active in Taekwondo, you've got a lot of injuries. I mean, obviously athletes get injured, so on and so forth. Now, if you could reverse time 30 years ago, knowing what you know now with your body, even more, even better, what would you tell people, not just in martial arts, but very active in general, on how to maybe prepare for when they do retire, take care of your body a little bit better? What do you think, looking back now, if you could maybe take care of your body going through injury or chronic pain, what would it be?
Well, that's another multiple layer question. So here's how that goes.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
in the 70s and the early 80s, we didn't think about health like we think about it now.
I know, I
So
know.
I would walk up and I'd punch three boards and I'd break my hand and then I'd back up and hit it harder the next time. We don't do that nowadays. That's just not the way
No.
things go. But so I broke my hand 11, 13 times. I don't know, whatever. I broke so many bones in my body from doing stuff to try to prove I was a young man at 25 years old because that's how you did it. But
Hmm.
we don't live like that anymore. So I would say, to answer your question in kind of a vague manner is that don't hurt yourself. Enjoy the physical part of it. Look at the part that makes you healthy and don't do what I did because that was a
Don't do what I did.
don't do that. That's all wrong.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, to be a seventh degree black belt, I mean, you've definitely seen some stuff throughout your career. I mean, that's a really amazing thing. And I think a lot of times too, like little girls like me, right? Because you know me, I'm like super tiny. And I've seen some really incredible little people do some really amazing stuff. And everybody always thinks the bigger you are, the stronger you are. And you would probably attest to that, that that's not always the truth, correct?
Well, the bigger you are, the stronger you are. That's a fact. We can't deny that. But to know a technique and how to get out of a situation is a different thing. My daughter was probably one of the most talented black belts in the world when she was 6 years old. But she's 32 now and she doesn't remember anything. So the challenge of martial arts is to the challenge, and I don't even think it can be accomplished, is to take a 6 year old and have them. I can't even imagine my daughter being in martial arts for the last 30 years or 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
She was a black belt. She knew everything, but now she doesn't. I mean, she knows some basic stuff, but she doesn't remember because we have what we call hyung, which is the Japanese call it kata, which is your forms, your perfection, your techniques. And there's a series for every belt. You got to remember so many. Some of them have 19 moves. Some of them have 38 moves, some of them have 64 moves. And you got to remember, she doesn't remember any of that stuff, but she knows the basic of her technique of how to do it. Um, so yeah, giving them confidence to go on. It's more about them succeeding in life than fighting in life. It's not about everybody wants to talk about martial arts about a defense thing. Now, where I live, up here, there's not a lot of conflict on a regular basis. It's more about you learn how to kick and punch and learn your respect and how to stand in line and say yes sir and no sir and being courteous to your and being the person that walks the old lady across the street. That's what the strength gives you the ability
Mm-hmm.
to put that out there. And so that's what you're teaching the people is, the kicking and punching is fun for the kids. That's all fun. Oh, I love to kick and I love to punch and stuff like that. But you're teaching them how to be better people, not how to be better really kickers. It's just like nobody's going to go kick somebody on a regular basis. But every single day of your life, you're going to go out there and be a better person.
I would surely hope not. I would surely hope not. But I think in the world we live in today, and just seeing all the craziness that's going on all over the place. And I have a daughter, I have one. So I can't imagine 5. I don't know how you survive that. That's a lot of estrogen there.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
But with my daughter, she's an athlete. She's very fit and in shape. And that's, I have mentioned to her that I think before college, before, a certain time period, it would be good for her to know a discipline such as martial arts for self-defense. I mean, you would recommend that for women, I would think, correct? Just because it's so, I mean, it's one thing to go out and have a knife, buy a gun, blah, blah, blah. But, sometimes you can be in a situation where things happen so quickly and it's not your fault. You didn't provoke it. You can be in the wrong place at the wrong time and something happens or someone snaps. I mean, what would you say to parents nowadays that are raising children in this day and age? Because it is considerably different from when you grew up or I grew up.
Well, you're on the right path there. I wouldn't approach it from a self-defense thing. I would, and that's kind of what I taught in my school is I didn't approach it from a self-defense thing as much as it was a common sense thing. So your martial arts program should be teaching these young women, these girls, how to realize that it's like no amount of self-defense or martial arts ability, no matter if you're a national champion or not, is going to protect you if you walk down the wrong alley. But common sense will tell you don't walk down the dark alley. And that's what the instructors should be telling you people. I mean, you're going to learn how to throw a punch and a block and all that stuff. That's all good. You're going to learn how to get out of a chokehold or whatever. That's all good. But if you put yourself in a situation where you got to get out of that, you're in the wrong situation in the first place, and your instructor should tell you that. He should say that don't go there because this is what's probably going to happen, and then you're going to have to use what I taught you. And I used to have a problem with the schools. The schools always thought, well, Taekwondo places were teaching kids how to be bullies. And it took me a long time. I put a concerted effort into finding out, to talking to the principals and stuff. I go, no, I'm making kids better. they do know how to kick and punch, and they will stand up for themselves, but they're better people. They're the ones that are going to have the
I was just going to
compassion,
say
the
that.
empathy, and everything that needs some.
Exactly. Well, I was just going to say psychologically, behaviorally, personality-wise, it does add something special to your life because
Right.
it becomes natural. It becomes secondary at some point. But also too, like you, to your point, you don't go through life having to fight all the time. It's perseverance. It's actually moving forward with more intelligence and more confidence and more understanding of even having more awareness in your life. And lastly, I wanted to ask you, um, so what are some of your favorite memories?
Oh,
You gotta have like some really good stories and some really good memories. Because listen, if I had 10 schools and you traveled in the United States and you did all this amazing stuff, which I think is awesome, you gotta have some stories that stand out to you. So I gotta ask you.
well, you don't have enough time for all my memories.
Yes, yes.
So if I had to throw a couple in the thing, um, I'm just going to tell you one, and we'll just leave it at that. So in 1983, uh, this is the most. So in '83, um, I was at the World Championships, fighting for the World Championship against a guy. So I took 8 students from Indiana to Little Rock, Arkansas, and they had about, I don't know, 2,000 people there for the other dude because he was from Arkansas. So I was in the Barton Coliseum, and back it was before payphones. And so I got a roll of quarters and I put in a payphone and I called my buddy Denny Kinsey.
Mhm.
And I go, everybody keeps asking me. So it's a good memory if I'm getting emotional, right? Um, so everybody goes, have you ever fought this guy? I'm not gonna put his name out there, but anyway, he was the reigning champion, and everybody keeps going, have you ever fought him? And I call my buddy back there in Indiana. He says, ask him if they ever fought Dennis Thompson. I beat the guy's ass because he told me, he goes, it's all about your perspective. He ain't never fought you, and you ain't never fought him, and you're way better than he is. So go whoop his ass. And I did. Now, it wasn't a blood and guts fight. Don't put that image in your head. It was a points tournament. But everybody down there's 2,000 people going, who's this guy from Indiana that's fighting our grandmaster guy? And I called my buddy and he says, ask him if they ever fought Dennis Thompson. So that's one of my best memories. So have
That's amazing.
the philosophy behind that is have confidence in yourself.
Apparently, he was a very good friend of yours because there's only a handful of good friends that say things like that. And they remind you that you don't have to look outside of yourself for validation at all. You just
Right.
have to be you.